through the examples, historical examples, international examples, and logical reasoning, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is trying to establish the non-significance of caste system. There are a lot of scientific reasons, natural selection, process of natural selection, and when we talk about logic, science reasoning, the survival, these are number of examples through which B.R. Ambedkar is trying to prove the fact. And in this further process, I move on, and he's giving the example of Ireland. It was why social revolution is more significant than political revolution. Why social reform is more important than political reform? Because political reform brings the governance, but social reform brings the equality and equal distribution of power among the people. So before ordering your own house, before managing the inside of your house, you first decide the power. Okay, these will be the people who will govern, but without deciding that how the power distribution will be there among the fellow citizens, then ultimately the power which was there in the hands of foreigners would be same in the hands of fellow citizens who are more powerful. So even if when we talk about the social reform, that is also somewhere logical to say that it also getting strength from the natural selection. Natural selection means naturally those who are powerful, they'll be ruling. So that is why then how can we justify, how can we distribute equal power where powerless are being given strength? And these are the examples of a lot of social revolutions which has taken place in India and all over world. The one example, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is taking, and that example is Ireland. There was a home rule league which we have already talked about in Indian national movement as well. And in this home rule league, this movement started in Ireland. Ireland was divided into two parts, Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. The Northern Ireland leader was Ulster. He was representing Northern Ireland. And the leader who was representing Southern Ireland was Mr. Redmond. Now, Mr. Redmond, because they were representing majority of the island population, they proposed Northern Ireland population, which were in the minority. And they said that you please join us, you merge yourself in the making of one unified Ireland, so we can have a combined Ireland. We can have a one Ireland, a united Ireland. And because Northern Ireland Ulster leader, they were representing minority, and even Mr. Redmond, who was representing Southern Ireland, proposed that whatever constitutional reform you want to be included in the combined Ireland, united Ireland, we are ready to do that. But still Ulster, who was representing Northern Ireland minority population, they denied. Reason being, whatever constitutional reform you write it in the paper, that would be in the paper only until and unless the representation of the minority is established. So no matter how beautiful and justified the institution or constitution is there, but until and unless the justice will not be delivered until the people who are representing the constitution are just enough to be honest enough to give equal justice to fellow minority. And the example he carries forward, that what happened if the Indian minority, they deny to be included in the majority, or they deny to be ruled by majority. So this here Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is making categorical example that Northern Ireland and minority denied, and they were more confident of making themselves independent. In this way, these are significant examples. Later he comes to giving the example of Rome. In Roman population, when the demolition of the divine rule or king was there. Finally, the complete power was divided between two, plebeians and patricians. So the plebeians who were representing, they came from the minority or the have-nots, and patricians were majority and they were powerful people. And that is why if the equal distribution of power is not there, ultimately those who are poor, those who have nots, those who do not have a share in the economy, uh, land reform and a social representation, ultimately they will be denied to rule, or they will be denied to justice, just share. The next example Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is giving, that is Martin Luther. Martin Luther was a German philosopher and a theologian. So then he talks about the Lutheran reform, and that reforms were in the religious institution, that was church. So before Martin Luther, all the interpretations were given by the priests who were holding the church. And priests were considered to be the supreme authority of church. But Martin Luther brought it in a upside down. He said that we have to focus on Bible. What is the interpretation and the things which has been said in the Bible. So we have to depend on the Bible. What Bible is saying about religion, how Bible is saying about the way of life, how Bible is directing or guiding human beings. That is the final thing to be taken. There is no need to get interpretation from the priest or the church authority, because church authority can lead it to individualization of the religion, and it could lead to personal benefits. It could misinterpret even the Bible, and that's why he translated Bible into German, and that was also a very common language which was understood by common people, and common people were able to read and understand it. This has actually brought a revolution. This is a very significant thing. When Martin Luther was talking about the reform which should come out of Bible, but at least common people were also able to read and write, because if anything which is written in German, people were able to read and write. But in India, untouchables were even denied the right of reading and writing. And that is why he explained in a very beautiful way that if you talk about this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, that is, if you just, I just call it Bakwas. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So this Bakwas or Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, these four Varna, which the relationship established between three upper caste, Savarna, and Antyaja, untouchable Shudra, that is guard, ward, and a guardian. So ward is Shudra and untouchable, and guardians are upper caste, three upper caste, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Guardian is always mature, guardian is always big of. When you talk about caste system, Dr. Ambedkar is trying to explain it in a way. Shudra and untouchables were denied for education because they are like ward, and a ward do not need any education, any reading skill, because Brahmin is there to help him. A ward do not need any kind of archery or skill or a self-defense, because Kshatriya is there. Then a ward doesn't need any kind of wealth or accumulation or business, because Vaishyas is there. So in this way, this ward or this fourth Varna, which is kept out of knowledge, self-defense and accumulating wealth. And all these three things are very significant for any human being to survive. Otherwise, equal to animal. And that's why he is giving the reason that why there will no caste revolt in India, because in this continent, because the ward is never given any kind of self-defense. So no education, no self-defense, no accumulation of wealth, and ultimately it's a complete subjugation. But in European society, when Martin Luther is writing Bible on the pages and he is translating into German, and later on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is giving very logical and reasoning and a scientific approach towards how this caste system is non-significant. Because then he says one thing. See, caste is invisible. Can you see it? Caste is invisible. You cannot see it. At least race or a color of a skin, you can see it. But caste is invisible. You cannot see it. Social status, and that is socialism. Started talking about caste reform. And in this caste reform, one organization was socialist. The socialists, they started talking about caste reform. And then he says that socialist, they were talking about economic reform. Okay, let us include these untouchables into the economic form, and let us talk about the social order. And then he's giving that we all know how Karl Marx is talking about division of labor. Division of labor means some are proletariats and some are bourgeois. So the whole society is divided between haves and have-nots. This is a simple division from the Marxist point of view, that some are haves, some are capitalist and proletariats, bourgeois and have-nots. This is a simple division we understand from the Marxist point of view. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, it's okay. You talk about social reform, you talk about economic reform, and you talk about socialist perspective. If our society is exactly like Western society, in which economy is the main thing, it's a division of labor. Okay, division of labor. Some people are doing this kind of work, other people are doing this kind of work. It works there when a society is based on the division of labor. But Indian society is not based on division of labor. It is based on division of laborers. Even if laborers also, you will find subdivisions are there. So when you find that poor are there, they are not all poor. In there also you will find that they are divided into caste. So that is why division of laborer. Okay, it's not a division of labor. If you go for Marxist perspective, division of labor is justifiable. But division of laborers, that's why he talks about, it's not 4 varna, it is a 4,000 caste. So how do you manage these 4,000 caste? Caste, then subcaste, then subcaste, then subcaste. So that is why, and then he talk about a very beautiful example. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says that let's talk about that, okay, all Brahmins are same. Okay, let us put them in a same category. Brahmins are upper caste and they are all same. Kshatriyas are same. Then let us put in the same strata. So, can you justify me that the North Indian Brahmin is equal to South Indian Brahmin, and the West India's Brahmin is Western Indian Brahmins are equal to Eastern Indian Brahmin? No, there is a huge difference, and there is a categorically is talking about that, like North Indian Brahmin, they are vegetarian, but South Indian Brahmin, you will find they think themselves more superior. Then you go to West Bengal or you go to Eastern and Western, you will find that they eat non-veg. And even if there is also a division, so North Indian Brahmin will not marry their daughters to South Indian Brahmin. So in the Brahmins also there are number of divisions, and that is why this caste system, which at one point of time you see that it's a simple one entity, you know what, and he gives the example. It's a club. Caste system is a club which membership is not open to anyone. Your membership will be decided on the basis of your birth. But the caste in the other communities, but Muslim, Sikh and Isai, there you will find that caste is an external entity and that is not sacred. If a Muslim is having a caste, they never make their fellow community men outcast. Okay, in Christians also, in Muslims also. So caste is and there is a filament. He says there is some filament which is binding, and that's why a Muslim gets into fight. Then he draws strength from his community fellow. All Muslims will come and help him. All Sikhs will come and stand for him. All Christians will come and fight for the fellow person. But So labor is being used. A Shudra's labor is significant, and untouchables labor is significant for the caste Hindu. But when he's talking about caste Hindu, it's Brahman, Kshatriya, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Threefold he is taking together. So the labor of the untouchable is required, but untouchable is not required for the equal rights. So when we talk about logic, revolution, science, natural selection, survival, strength, fight, every human being, even if the whole universe is based on the mobility. So a child who has been born will be growing and acquiring a particular age, and after that out of the cycle. So every single thing is moving, and that is why some people are naturally strong, some are weak. Women have a different kind of biological structure, men have a different kind of biological structure, even if the nature is also changing. But caste system is such a rigid and a fixed entity which is not changing for many years. And how come this we can make it as a scientifically, when theory of natural selection, okay, which is based on the survival of the fittest, those who can survive right now in corona time also, those who are immune system is strong, physically strong, they are players, they are not affected much. But those who are weak physically, they are affecting. Now let us say the corona is only affecting certain caste. Is it possible? It's not possible. So the science, the nature itself is mobilizing, itself is moving, but the caste system is so rigid, it cannot happen. How come everything is changing in the world and the caste system is not changing? And then there is a beautiful example he gives. So you can apply caste system, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, Bakwas, on the all four, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So these are all, we are talking about men. But let's imply this caste system on the women. Okay, caste and women. So do you think that there will be particular women who are only preaching and getting into knowledge? They are Brahmin women. Do you think there are certain women who are only trained for the archery and warfare? They are Kshatriya. And do you think there are certain women who are exclusively doing business? Vaishya. And there are women community, they work as a butcher or a chandal or untouchable. Do you find? So when your caste system is applicable to men, but the same caste system is failed when you talk about women. So this caste is only applicable to men, but the caste is not applicable to women. The caste is not visible even. The caste is never changing. The caste doesn't apply in the natural selection. It doesn't stand for the science, logic, natural selection, and a revolution, theory of evolution. Everything is evolving, but caste is not evolving. And then he says, Professor Batson is there, and he is talking about the Mendel's principle of hereditary. So even if when we talk about hereditary, in heredity also, after one generation, there is a change. And do you think that those who are born in Brahmin, they all are only interested in preaching and getting knowledge and teaching? No. Those who are born as a Kshatriya, they are only interested in archery and warfare. Maybe some Kshatriya want to become a intellectual. Maybe someone want to become a painter. Maybe someone want to do something else. So even if when we talk about a basic human nature, this caste system is not applicable. And then he talks about C3. He is using the word C3, that is caste, race and morphology. On the basis of these, because when he was giving some example of European texts, and then he used C3. So then the division he is doing, the division is Hindu and non-Hindu. Non-Hindu take a caste as a sacred because it is sacred. It comes out of the literature. It comes out of the Shastras. where they are born high and born low. But in non-Hindus, it is simply a binding force. It's a filament which bind them. Hindus, they make their community fellow as outcast, untouchable. But in non-Hindus, Muslims, Sikh and Christians, they don't make their any community fellow as a outcast. So the Hindu caste comes on the birth-based membership. But in the non-Hindus, it is a club which is open to all. So you can become a member of the club and then you can leave it also. So that is why Hindus are not able to fight ferociously the way other castes are able, because they work as a one entity and then they draw strength for their community fellows. And this simple principle of liberty, equality and fraternity, that is life. Okay, liberty, fraternity and equality, on which this French Revolution was based, this can never be applicable to caste system. Liberty, all human beings are born free. We are all product of this universe. So it is not necessary that one generation which is involved in the one kind of work, the next generation will be exactly same. It cannot happen. This is unscientific, this is illogical, this is against universe, it is against natural law. And then fraternity, everyone want to be equal, everyone want to be, the most significant aspect in human nature is to get dignity, and that is why we all are doing so good thing. It's because appreciation is there. No one want to be wretched, no one want to be disrespected, and no one want to have a lower status. Everyone tries to be getting high status. Getting a respect and dignity is a basic human nature. So in caste system, you cannot have liberty of choosing your own profession, liberty of choosing your own geographical location, liberty of choosing your own defense, self-defense, liberty of choosing your own lifestyle in which you can accumulate wealth, whether you want to become a professor or a engineer or a architecture or a laborer. That is your choice. So it goes out of natural selection. Liberty is not there, fraternity is not there. Basic principle of human being is all humans are born equally. They are all human are born equally. If there is a difference, if somebody is physically deformed or geographical locations are there, the color, height, and these are geographically decided. So, and equality, everyone want to be equal. That's why there are so many revolutions are there in the world. French Revolution is there. In Britain, the King Charles I was beheaded, and there was a Cromwellian way. Cromwell challenged the whole parliamentary system even in the Britain. So, and slavery, which was once upon a time a legalized form of suffering. Slavery was legalized, but caste system is divine. Caste system is divine, and it is a divine. It is based, because if you are born as a high caste, you are born forever. If you are born as a low caste, you are born as a low caste. You cannot change your caste, and that is why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is categorically believing in the reform of religion and this divine form of caste system. Caste system is not divine. Caste system is not logical. Caste system is not scientific. Caste system doesn't stand on any ground of logic, reasoning, and a normal basic understanding. So, in the four varna, when you say birth is only worth, in four varna, what is say? Birth is only worth. And if you are, after that, whatever qualities a human being is acquiring is non-significant. It cannot happen. And then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar gives an example of Shambhuk Vad. Actually, this reference is coming in the middle portion of this Annihilation of Caste, where Shambhuk was untouchable. It is during Ram Rajya. It is the reference is in the 7th book of Ramayana, Uttarakhand. In the Uttarakhand 7th book, Uttarakhand, this reference is there. Shambhuk was untouchable, and according to caste system, according to four varna theory, an untouchable cannot do meditation, because meditation is only assigned to Brahmin. So Shambhuk was an untouchable and he was doing meditation. And somebody informed Ram, who was the king of, somebody informed Ram that Shambhuka has broken the rule of the caste. He has broken this 4 varna and he's trying to elevate himself through meditation. And he's encroaching in the field of Brahmin. And Ram went to make this Varna Dharma. Okay, what the word is used as is Varna Dharma. To make the Varna Dharma functioning properly, he killed Shambhuk. So this reference is there, Shambhuk Vad, Shambhuk, killing of Shambhuk. And why Shambhuk was killed? This reference is there in Valmiki Ramayana. I don't know where. There was no way to come out of caste. And but there was one way through which you can break the caste rule. And if you become a dacoit, it's only one way to come out of caste. And that is why people, even it was risky, it was fearsome, but people, because the caste, humiliation of the caste was so much that it was better to die like a dacoit rather than to be in the fold of untouchable. And that is why Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is so categorically questioning Shastras. He says that even if when you read Shastra, if you believe in Shastras or the sacred text of Hindus, you have to read it grammatically and interpret it logically. So read it grammatically and interpret it logically. So logical interpretation, the way Buddha, Nanak, Kabir, they did logical interpretation of these sacred text. And when you go for the logical interpretation or the grammatical reading, you will find that you can question these Shastras. Otherwise, if they are sacred text and you cannot do it, by the time people were illiterate, people were out of wealth, people could not revolt because they didn't have weapon. So there is no question of going against the system. And that's why this example of Buddha, Guru Nanak, Kabir, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is giving. And then he questioned a very formidable or very unavoidable question. He says that every civilization is ruled by intellectuals. Okay, intellectuals, they set norm for the society. Intellectuals, they direct the society, they bring revolution. And how can it is possible that intellectuals are coming from one community, one caste only? Intellectuals come from only one caste and one community, where you will not find representation of Muslim, a Sikh, women, minority, LGBT, linguistic minority, tribes, or anything else. So it's only Brahmin, and it's a come out of caste. And then you can understand the one-sided approach. You can think what those intellectuals will be directing to the society, because intellectuals, those who come from Brahmin community, they will never talk about religious tolerance. They will never talk about women rights. They will never talk about any form of LGBT or tribal communities or minorities or women, Muslim or all. So in this way, you cannot depend on one community which is forming an intellectuals, and they are directing the society. Then rest of the majority of people will be out of rights and self-respect and dignity. Ambedkar talks about sadachar. Okay, sadachar, good deeds. So what is good deed? Good deed is not like you go for charity, or you do some scientific invention and you help humanity and you help poor children. This is not sadachar in Hinduism. Good deeds in Hinduism means when you act exactly according to the caste system, when you follow your varnashram dharma. Okay, when you follow whatever the assigned rules are there for your caste. If you are a Brahmin, you follow the exact rule which are being set by for the Brahmin community and rest of the 3. So the task and the responsibilities which are being given to Shudra is to the rest of the 3. It means, so, and what is Hinduism? Hinduism is a set of rules, commands and prohibition. In Hinduism, religion means set of rules. So it's a complete set of command and prohibition, do's and don'ts. That is what Hinduism is saying. So in this way, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said that religion itself must be mobile. And then how can we logically defend that those who are born in untouchables, they are more powerful, they are physically well off, they can fight, they can become good warriors, and those some of them who are born in Kshatriya, they want to do business, they do not want to go for the armory, and some of all the Brahmins, they are not fit for intellectual capability, they cannot be preacher and teacher. So in this way, the upward mobility and downward mobility is inevitable for any community, is inevitable for any society. If we do not follow this, okay, and then he says, there are certain references are there, like Carlyle. Carlyle says that any society which need to be organized, it must have a filament or a ligament. And let me just read out Professor Radhakrishnan's Hindu view of life. And I read it. The civilization itself has not been a short-lived one. It's historic. Like he's talking about that, he's defending Hinduism. Okay, he's referring to Hinduism. He says, the civilization itself has not been a short-lived one. Its historic record date back to over 4,000 years, and even then it had reached a stage of civilization which has continued its unbroken, though at times slow and static, course until the present day. It has stood the stress and strain of more than 4 or 5 millenniums of spiritual thoughts and experience. Though people of different races and cultures have been pouring into India from the dawn of history, Hinduism has been able to maintain its supremacy, and even the proselyting creed backed by political power have not been able to coerce the large majority of Hindus to their views. The Hindu culture possesses some vitality which seems to be denied to some other more forceful current. It is no more necessary to dissect Hinduism than to open a tree to see whether the sap still runs. It's a zero. Then Dr. B.R. Ambedkar says, the name of Professor Radhakrishnan is big enough to invest with profundity whatever he says and impress the minds of his readers. But I must not hesitate to speak out my mind, for I fear that his statement may become the basis of vicious argument that the fact of survival is proof of fitness to survive. Then he says that Hinduism has survived. Okay, he catches the word Hinduism has survived. But there is a lot of difference between survival and worthy living. And I quote what the answer has been given by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It seems to me that the question is not whether a community lives or dies. The question is on what plan does it live. There are different modes of survival, because actually throughout this whole statement which has been given, Professor S. Radhakrishnan, is how this Hinduism has survived. Okay, so the answer is, but not all equally, there are different modes of survival, but not all are equally honorable. For an individual as well as for a society, there is a gulf between merely living and living worthily. To fight in a battle and to live in glory is one mode. To beat a retreat, to surrender, or to live the life of a captive is also a mode of survival. It is useless for a Hindu to take comfort in the fact that he and his people have survived. What he must consider is what is the quality of their survival. If he does that, I am sure he will cease to take pride in the mere fact of survival. A Hindu's life has been a life of continuous defeat, and what appeared to him to be life everlasting is not living everlastingly, but is really a life which is perishing everlastingly. It is mode of survival of which every right-minded Hindu who is not afraid to own up to the truth will feel ashamed.